single dad waiter, recognized by his childhood girlfriend, now a millionaire CEO. Before we begin, tell me something about where you live. What's the weather like today? The morning rush at Maple Street Cafe was merciless. Jack Morrison, 35, wiped sweat from his brow with his good arm, while balancing 3 steaming plates on his bandaged forearm. The white gauze wrapped around his left wrist caught the fluorescent light as he weaved between crowded tables. "Order up!" called Mike from the kitchen. Jack winced. Another table to serve, another dollar earned toward his daughter Emma's school supplies. The bell above the entrance chimed, and Jack glanced up from clearing table 6. His blood froze. Standing in the doorway, elegant in a charcoal business suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent, was a face from his past that made his heart skip a beat. Sophia Chen. 27 now, but those same warm brown eyes that had captivated him in high school. Her sleek black hair was pulled into a professional bun, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had conquered the world. She scanned the cafe methodically until her gaze found him. Recognition flickered across her features, followed by something Jack couldn't quite read. Surprise? Concern? Her eyes immediately dropped to his bandaged arm. "Jack?" Her voice carried across the small cafe, causing several customers to look up from their morning coffee. He stood frozen, dirty plates still in his hands, feeling every inch the failure he'd become. Here was the girl who used to share her lunch money with him, now clearly worth millions, and here he was, a single father barely scraping by, injured and exhausted. Sophia moved toward him with purposeful strides, her designer heels clicking against the worn linoleum. "My God, Jack Morrison, is it really you?" "Sophia." His voice came out rougher than intended. "I didn't expect to see you here." Her eyes traveled from his face to his uniform, lingering on the bandages. "What happened to your arm?" "Kitchen accident," he lied smoothly. The truth, that he'd injured it in a second job at a construction site, felt too pathetic to admit. "You work here?" There was no judgment in her tone, but Jack felt it anyway. "For about 2 years now." He set down the plates, suddenly self-conscious about the coffee stains on his apron. Sophia glanced around the modest cafe, then back at him. "Jack, I need to ask you something important. Are you free tonight?" His heart hammered. Why?" "I'd like you to come to dinner, at my place." She reached into her purse and pulled out an elegant business card. "I live in Riverside Heights now. Can you be there at 7? Jack stared at the embossed card. Chen Industries, CEO. His childhood friend had become everything they'd dreamed about during those long afternoons studying together. "Sophia, I don't think—" "Please." Something vulnerable flashed in her eyes. "There's so much we need to talk about." Before he could respond, she was already heading toward the door. She paused, looking back over her shoulder. "And Jack? Bring Emma." The door chimed as she left, leaving Jack standing there with her business card, wondering how she knew about his daughter. Jack stared at his reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror of his one-bedroom apartment. His best shirt, a faded blue button-down from his college days, hung loosely on his frame. He'd lost weight since the divorce, stress and long hours taking their toll. "Daddy, do I look okay?" 8-year-old Emma stood in the doorway wearing her only dress, a yellow sundress that was getting too small. Her blonde hair, so much like her mother's, was neatly braided. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Jack knelt down to her level. "But are you sure you want to come? You could stay with Mrs. Patterson." Emma shook her head firmly. "The pretty lady specifically asked for me to come. Besides, I want to meet your friend from school." Jack's chest tightened. He'd told Emma very little about Sophia, just that they'd been classmates. How could he explain that Sophia had been his first love, that he'd planned to propose to her before his father's death changed everything? The drive to Riverside Heights took 20 minutes in his aging Honda Civic. As they passed through the security gate of the exclusive neighborhood, Emma pressed her face to the window. "Daddy, look at these houses! They're like castles!" Jack's stomach churned. The address led them to a sprawling modern mansion with floor-to-ceiling windows that glowed warm against the evening sky. A circular driveway curved around a marble fountain. "This is where your friend lives?" Emma whispered. Before Jack could answer, the massive front door opened. Sophia appeared, having traded her business suit for an elegant, cream-colored dress that somehow managed to be both casual and expensive. Her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. "Jack," she smiled, but there was nervousness in her eyes. "And this must be Emma." Emma stepped forward with the boldness only children possess. "Are you really Daddy's girlfriend from when he was young?" Sophia laughed, the same melodic sound Jack remembered from high school. "We were very good friends, yes. Come in, both of you." The foyer was larger than Jack's entire apartment. A crystal chandelier cast rainbow prisms on marble floors, and a curved staircase swept up to the second floor, like something from a movie. "Emma, would you like to see the garden while your father and I talk?" Sophia gestured toward French doors that opened onto a backyard that looked like a park. "Can I, Daddy?" Jack nodded, and Emma skipped outside. Sophia led him to a sitting room furnished with what looked like antiques. She poured wine from a bottle that probably cost more than Jack made in a week. "I can't believe it's really you," she said, settling into a chair across from him. "When I walked into that cafe today, it felt like seeing a ghost. How did you know about Emma?" Sophia's fingers tightened around her wine glass. "Jack, I've known where you were for the past 3 years. The confession hit him like a physical blow. "You've been watching me?" "Not watching, just keeping track, making sure you were okay." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "After what happened with your father, and then when you dropped out of college, I hired a private investigator." Jack set down his wine glass with more force than necessary. "Why?" "Because I never stopped loving you." The words hung in the air between them. Jack felt something crack open in his chest, a wound he'd spent years trying to heal. "Sophia, you don't understand. My life is complicated. Emma's mother left you both 2 years ago," Sophia finished quietly. "I know about Rebecca. I know about the custody battle, the financial struggles. I know you're working 2 jobs, and that injury isn't from a kitchen accident." Jack stood abruptly, pacing to the window where he could see Emma examining roses in the garden. "So what is this? Charity? You felt sorry for your old boyfriend and decided to swoop in and rescue him?" "No." Sophia rose too, moving closer. "This is me trying to fix the biggest mistake I ever made." "Mistake?" Jack turned from the window, his jaw clenched. "What mistake, Sophia? You became exactly what you always dreamed of becoming." Sophia's composure cracked slightly. "I became successful, yes, but I lost the only thing that mattered." "And what was that?" "You." The word hung between them like a bridge neither dared cross. Outside, Emma's laughter drifted through the French doors as she chased a butterfly through the garden. Sophia moved to a mahogany desk and retrieved a photograph. She handed it to Jack with trembling fingers. It was their high school graduation photo, both of them grinning, his arm around her waist, their whole lives stretched out before them like an unwritten story. "I kept this on my desk through 4 years at Harvard Business School," she said, "through building my company, through every merger and acquisition. Every time someone asked me why I'd never married, I'd look at this picture and remember the boy who used to walk me home from the library." Jack's throat tightened. "That boy died when his father had a heart attack senior year. You know that. I know you had to take care of your mother. I know you couldn't follow me to Harvard." Her voice grew stronger. "But I also know I should have stayed. I should have found a way to make it work. You were 18, Sophia. We both were. You had opportunities. I had you." She stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something expensive that somehow still reminded him of the vanilla body spray she wore in high school. "And I chose a career over love. I've regretted it every single day for 17 years. Jack studied her face, searching for the girl he'd once known. She was there beneath the polish and success, in the way she bit her lower lip when nervous, in the stubborn tilt of her chin. "Why now?" he asked. "Why today, after all this time?" Sophia moved to another window, gazing out at her manicured grounds. "Because I'm dying, Jack." The words hit him like ice water. "What?" "Leukemia. Diagnosed 6 months ago." Her voice was steady, but Jack could see her reflection in the window, tears streaming down her cheeks. The doctors give me 8 months, maybe 12 with aggressive treatment. Jack felt the room spin around him. That's impossible. You look healthy. Money can buy excellent doctors and the best makeup artists in the world. She turned back to face him. But it can't buy me more time with the people I love. Sophia. He stepped toward her, instinctively wanting to comfort her, but stopped himself. Have you tried everything? Experimental treatments, clinical trials? I've exhausted every option. Trust me, when you have unlimited resources, you explore every possibility. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand, a gesture so familiar it broke his heart. That's not why I asked you here. Then why? Because I want to spend whatever time I have left making up for the years I lost with you and Emma. Through the window, they could see Emma picking flowers, completely oblivious to the weight of the conversation happening inside. She doesn't know me, Jack said quietly. Emma's never even heard your name, but she could. Children adapt quickly, Jack. She could learn to love me the way I already love her. Jack stared at her. You don't even know her. I know she's 8 years old and loves strawberry ice cream. I know she's brilliant at math, but struggles with reading because she has mild dyslexia. I know she misses her mother, but won't talk about it because she doesn't want to make you sad. Sophia's voice softened. I know she drew a picture of a family at school last month. You, her, and a woman with long dark hair who looked suspiciously like me. Jack's heart stopped. How could you possibly know that? Because I've been taking care of both of you in ways you don't realize. The scholarship that covered Emma's school fees last year. The anonymous benefactor who paid your medical bills after your construction accident. Sophia met his gaze steadily. That was me. The revelation knocked the wind from his lungs. You've been, all this time. I've been loving you from a distance, making sure you and Emma were safe. But now time is running out and I need to know. Her voice broke. I need to know if there's any chance you could love me again. Jack sank into the nearest chair, his head spinning. Sophia, I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll give us a chance to be a family, even if it's just for a little while. Before he could respond, Emma burst through the French doors, her arms full of flowers. Daddy, look, Miss Sophia said I could pick these for you. She thrust a bouquet of roses and lilies toward him, her face glowing with excitement. Jack accepted the flowers, their sweet scent mixing with the gravity of what Sophia had just revealed. They're beautiful, sweetheart. Emma turned to Sophia with the directness only children possess. Are you going to be my new mommy? The question hung in the air like a prayer. Sophia knelt down to Emma's level, her expensive dress forgotten as she sat on the marble floor. Would you like that, Emma? Emma studied Sophia's face with serious 8-year-old consideration. Daddy's been sad for a long time, ever since Mommy went away. But today, when he was getting ready to come here, he was singing in the shower. He only sings when he's happy. Jack felt heat creep up his neck. Emma, it's true, Daddy, and Miss Sophia has kind eyes, like the lady in my dreams who reads me bedtime stories. Sophia's breath caught. You dream about someone reading to you? Emma nodded solemnly. She has long dark hair like yours, and she smells like flowers. She tells me stories about princesses who build castles and take care of everyone they love. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. She looked at Jack over Emma's head, and he saw something that made his chest tighten, hope mixed with desperation. Emma, Sophia said gently, would you like to have dinner here with me and your daddy? I have a chef who makes the most amazing chocolate cake. Can we, Daddy? Please? Jack looked at his daughter's eager face, then at Sophia, who was watching him with an expression that reminded him of their teenage years when she'd waited for him to ask her to prom. I suppose we could stay for dinner, he said quietly. Emma whooped with joy and threw her arms around Sophia, who closed her eyes and held the little girl tight. Over Emma's head, she mouthed 2 words to Jack. Thank you. Dinner was served in a dining room that could have hosted 20 people, but somehow felt intimate with just the 3 of them. Sophia had instructed her chef to prepare Emma's favorites. Somehow, she knew Emma loved grilled cheese and tomato soup, even in an elegant setting. Miss Sophia, Emma said around a bite of chocolate cake. Do you live in this big house all by yourself? I do. It gets quite lonely sometimes. That's sad. Houses are supposed to be full of families. Emma swung her legs from the antique chair. Maybe you could come visit us. We don't have a big house, but Daddy makes the best pancakes on Saturdays. Jack nearly choked on his wine. Emma, I'm sure Miss Sophia is very busy. Actually, Sophia interrupted, looking directly at Jack, I'd love to see where you live, if that's okay with your father. Emma clapped her hands. Yes, you can see my room and meet Mr. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers? My cat. Well, he's really the building's cat, but he likes me best. He sleeps on my fire escape sometimes. Sophia smiled, but Jack caught the concern that flashed across her features. A cat on a fire escape meant they lived in an older building, probably not in the best neighborhood. After dinner, as Emma explored the house with the wonder of a child in a palace, Sophia walked Jack to her study. The walls were lined with books and awards, but what caught his attention was a framed photo on her desk, him at 17, building a treehouse in his backyard. I can't believe you kept that, he said. I kept everything. Sophia opened a drawer and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were ticket stubs from movies they'd seen together, pressed flowers from their first date, and letters he'd written her when she was away at summer camp. Jack picked up one of his old letters, recognizing his teenage handwriting. We were so young and sure we'd be together forever. Sophia closed the box. Jack, I know this is overwhelming. I know you need time to process everything I've told you. But I want you to know, whether you can love me again or not, I'm going to make sure Emma has everything she needs. College fund, medical insurance, whatever she requires. I don't want your money, Sophia. It's not about what you want. It's about what Emma deserves. Her voice grew firm, the CEO emerging. That little girl is extraordinary, Jack. She's brilliant and kind, and she shouldn't have to worry about whether there's enough money for school supplies. Jack felt his pride warring with his love for his daughter. I've been taking care of her just fine. You've been doing an amazing job, but let me help. Let me be part of her life, of both your lives. Sophia's voice cracked slightly. I don't have much time left, Jack. Don't make me spend it alone. 3 days passed before Jack could bring himself to call Sophia. Emma had talked about nothing else. Miss Sophia's beautiful house, her kind eyes, the way she'd listened to every word Emma said, as if it were the most important thing in the world. Daddy, Emma had said on the second night, I think Miss Sophia is lonely like us. Maybe we could be lonely together instead of apart. Out of the mouths of babes. Jack called from the cafe during his break. Sophia answered on the first ring. I've been hoping you'd call, she said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Emma wants to invite you to dinner. At our place. He looked around the cramped employee break room, suddenly embarrassed by his life. It's not much, Sophia. It's not even close to what you're used to. Jack, I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment above my parents' restaurant. I didn't have money until I made it myself. Her voice was gentle. I don't care about the size of your home. I care about the people in it. That evening, Sophia arrived at their building carrying grocery bags and wearing jeans and a simple sweater. She looked more like the girl he'd fallen in love with in high school than the CEO who'd walked into his cafe. Emma met them at the door of their third-floor walk-up, practically bouncing with excitement. Miss Sophia, you came. Wait until you see everything. Their apartment was tiny but clean, with mismatched furniture Jack had found at thrift stores and yard sales. Emma had decorated the living room with her artwork and a few pictures of her and Jack. It wasn't much, but it was home. It's perfect, Sophia said, and Jack could tell she meant it. She examined each of Emma's drawings carefully, asking questions about the stories behind them. This one's my favorite, Emma said, pointing to a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands outside a house. That's me and Daddy and... She paused, looking up at Sophia. I drew it before I met you, but I think maybe I was drawing you. Sophia knelt down to Emma's level, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I think maybe you were drawing us as a family. Jack watched from the kitchen as his daughter and his first love bonded over drawings and stories. It felt surreal, like stepping into a dream he'd given up years ago. Dinner was simple, spaghetti and meatballs that Sophia had insisted on cooking. She moved around their tiny kitchen as if she'd been there 100 times, helping Emma set the table and listening to Jack's stories about his regulars at the cafe. "There's Mrs. Henderson," Jack was saying. "She comes in every morning at exactly 7:30 and orders decaf coffee with exactly 2 sugars and 1 cream. If we're even a minute late with her order, she acts like the world is ending." Emma giggled. "Tell her about Mr. Chen, who always leaves exact change." "No relation," Sophia said with a wink, and Emma dissolved into giggles. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Sophia her room. It was barely big enough for a twin bed and a small dresser, but Emma had made it her own with string lights and posters of animals. "Mr. Whiskers sleeps right there," Emma said, pointing to the fire escape outside her window. "Sometimes I open the window and he comes in, but don't tell the landlord." Sophia sat on Emma's bed, looking at the books stacked on the windowsill. Many were from the library, but Jack noticed she paused at the newer ones, the ones that had mysteriously appeared over the past few months. "These are beautiful books, Emma. Do you read them all?" Emma's face fell slightly. "I try, but some of the words are hard. That's okay. Reading is like building muscles. The more you practice, the stronger you get." Sophia picked up one of the books. "Would you like me to read you a story tonight?" Emma's eyes lit up. "Yes. Daddy, can she?" Jack felt his heart clench as he watched them together. Emma curled up against Sophia's side as she read, and Sophia's voice took on a gentle storytelling cadence that transported them all to a world of adventure and magic. When Emma finally fell asleep, Sophia gently extracted herself and followed Jack to the living room. "She's incredible, Jack. You've raised an amazing little girl." "She likes you," Jack said quietly. "More than like. I think she's already decided you belong here." Sophia sat beside him on the worn couch. "What about you? Have you decided anything?" Jack was quiet for a long moment, studying her face in the lamplight. "I keep waiting to wake up and find out this is all a dream. That you're not really here. That you're not really—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "Dying." Sophia's voice was matter-of-fact. "I'm afraid that part is very real. How are you so calm about it?" Sophia leaned back against the couch. "I've had 6 months to process it. The anger, the fear, the bargaining with God. I've been through it all. Now I just want to make the time I have left count." "And you want to spend it with us?" "I want to spend it building something beautiful with the 2 people I love most in the world." She turned to face him. "Jack, I know this is complicated. I know Emma's your priority, and she should be. But I also know that little girl deserves to have someone who loves her unconditionally for as long as possible. And when you're gone," the words came out harsher than he intended, "what happens to Emma then? What happens when she loses another mother figure?" Sophia was quiet for a moment. "She'll have memories of being loved. She'll know that for a time she had someone who would have moved mountains for her. Isn't that better than never having that at all?" Jack looked toward Emma's room, where he could hear her talking softly in her sleep. "I don't know if I can handle losing you again." "Then don't lose me," Sophia whispered. "Love me while you can." 2 weeks later, Jack found himself in a situation he never could have imagined. Sophia had become a regular part of their lives, showing up at the apartment most evenings after work, helping Emma with homework, cooking dinner, and slowly but surely becoming the family they'd never known they needed. Emma had stopped asking when Sophia would officially become her new mommy and had simply started calling her Sophia Mom in the casual way children adopt new realities. "Sophia Mom said she's going to take me shopping for school clothes tomorrow," Emma announced over breakfast, "and she said I can pick out whatever I want." Jack looked up from his coffee. "Emma, you can't just assume." "It's fine," Sophia said, appearing in their kitchen doorway with her own coffee mug, one Emma had picked out especially for her. "If it's okay with you, of course." She was wearing one of Jack's old college t-shirts and a pair of jeans, her hair in a messy bun. She looked nothing like the powerful CEO and everything like the girl he'd fallen in love with in high school. "Of course it's okay," Jack said, and realized he meant it. Somewhere in the past 2 weeks, his defenses had crumbled completely. After Emma left for school, Jack and Sophia sat at his small kitchen table, sharing comfortable silence and coffee. It felt so natural, so right, that Jack had to remind himself this wasn't permanent. "I have a doctor's appointment today," Sophia said quietly. "Results from my latest tests." Jack's stomach dropped. "Do you want me to come with you?" She looked surprised. "You'd do that?" "Sophia, of course I would." They sat in the oncologist's office that afternoon, holding hands like teenagers while Dr. Rodriguez reviewed Sophia's latest scans. Jack found himself studying the diplomas on the wall, the family photos on the desk, anything to avoid looking at the images of Sophia's body fighting a war it couldn't win. "The good news," Dr. Rodriguez said finally, "is that the cancer isn't progressing as quickly as we initially feared. The bad news is that it is still progressing." "How long?" Sophia's voice was steady. "With continued treatment, possibly 18 months, maybe 2 years. Jack felt something lift in his chest, more time than they'd hoped for. But when he looked at Sophia, her face was pale. "What is it?" he asked as they left the office. 2 years, she whispered. "Emma will be 10 when She'll understand what's happening. She'll remember losing me." Jack stopped walking and pulled her into his arms, right there on the busy sidewalk. "Then we make sure those 2 years are so full of love that the memories of joy outweigh the pain." That night, after Emma was asleep, Jack made a decision that terrified and thrilled him in equal measure. "Marry me," he said. Sophia looked up from the book she was reading, certain she'd misheard. "What?" "Marry me. Not because you're sick, not because we have limited time, but because I love you, because I never stopped loving you." Jack sat beside her on the couch. "Because Emma deserves to have you as her legal mother, even if it's just for a little while." Tears streamed down Sophia's face. "Jack, I know it's crazy. I know we're moving fast, but we've wasted 17 years already, and I don't want to waste another day." He took her hands in his. "We may not have 50 years together, but we can make the time we have count." "What about Emma? Shouldn't we ask her?" Before Jack could answer, a small voice came from the hallway. "Ask me what?" Emma stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "I heard you talking." Jack and Sophia exchanged glances. "Come here, sweetheart," Jack said. Emma climbed onto the couch between them. "Are you and Sophia Mom getting married?" "Would that be okay with you?" Sophia asked. Emma considered this with the seriousness of a judge. "Will that mean you'll live here with us forever?" Sophia's voice caught. "For as long as I can, yes. And you'll be my real mom, not just my Sophia Mom?" "If you want me to be." Emma threw her arms around Sophia's neck. "Yes, I want that more than anything." Over Emma's head, Sophia looked at Jack with eyes full of love and gratitude, and just a touch of fear. "Is that a yes?" he asked softly. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." As they held each other, this unlikely family bound by love and time, and the fierce determination to make every moment matter, Jack felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. But neither of them noticed the envelope that had been slipped under their door earlier that evening, marked with the return address of Rebecca Morrison's attorney. Some storms, after all, have a way of finding you just when you think you've found shelter. Jack stared at the legal envelope on his kitchen table as if it might burst into flames. The return address made his blood run cold. Martinez and Associates, Rebecca's divorce attorney. Sophia sat across from him, her face pale in the morning light. "When did this arrive?" she asked quietly. "Last night, after Jack's voice trailed off, after they'd decided to get married, after Emma had fallen asleep planning their wedding, after they'd finally allowed themselves to believe in happiness. Emma was at school, blissfully unaware that her world might be about to shatter again." Jack's hands shook as he opened the envelope and unfolded the legal documents inside. "Motion for emergency custody modification," he read aloud. His voice grew hoarse. "Rebecca wants Emma back." Sophia leaned forward, reading over his shoulder. "On what grounds?" Jack scanned the papers, his heart sinking with each line. "Substantial change in circumstances. She's claiming that my relationship with you creates an unstable environment for Emma. She's arguing that Emma shouldn't be exposed to." He stopped, the words sticking in his throat. To what, Jack? To watching another mother figure die. Jack crumpled the papers in his fist. She hired a private investigator. She knows about your diagnosis. Sophia sat back as if she'd been slapped. How could she possibly know that? Someone talked. Maybe someone at the hospital, maybe. Jack ran his hands through his hair. It doesn't matter. She knows and she's using it against us. The court date was set for the following week, 7 days to prepare for a battle that could destroy everything they'd built. Jack, Sophia said carefully, maybe she has a point. Maybe putting Emma through this isn't fair. Don't. Jack's voice was sharp. Don't you dare give up on us now. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. Tears gathered in Sophia's eyes. What if Rebecca is right? What if loving me means Emma will suffer more in the long run? Before Jack could answer, his phone rang. The caller ID showed Emma's school. Mr. Morrison, this is Principal Walsh. I'm afraid there's been an incident with Emma. Could you come in right away? Jack and Sophia rushed to Jefferson Elementary, their hearts racing. They found Emma sitting in the principal's office, her face streaked with tears and her knuckles scraped. What happened? Jack knelt beside his daughter's chair. Tommy Patterson said his mom heard his dad talking about how Emma's new mom is going to die and leave her all alone. Principal Walsh explained. Emma punched him. Sophia's face went white. The news was already spreading through their small community. Emma looked up at Sophia with eyes full of fear. Sophia, Mom, are you really going to die? The question hung in the air like a sword. Sophia knelt down and took Emma's small hands in hers. Yes, sweetheart, I am sick, and someday I will die, but not for a long time, and not today. Will you leave me like my real mom did? No, Emma, I will never choose to leave you. When my time comes, I'll fight to stay with you for as long as I can. Emma threw her arms around Sophia's neck, sobbing. I don't want you to die. I don't want anyone else to leave me. Over Emma's head, Jack and Sophia exchanged a look of pure anguish. How do you protect a child from the inevitable heartbreak of loving someone you'll lose? The family court hearing arrived like an approaching storm. Jack sat at the defendant's table with his court-appointed attorney, a young public defender named David Chen, who looked barely old enough to have passed the bar exam. Across the aisle, Rebecca Morrison sat with her high-powered legal team. She'd changed since Jack had last seen her. Her blonde hair was shorter, more severe, and she wore an expensive suit that screamed success. Her new husband, Dr. Michael Patterson, sat beside her, his hand possessively on her shoulder. Emma wasn't in the courtroom. She was at school, unaware that her future was being decided by strangers in black robes. Your Honor, Rebecca's attorney began, my client is deeply concerned about the psychological impact on her daughter of being thrust into a relationship with a terminally ill woman. The child has already experienced abandonment trauma when my client had to temporarily relocate for her career. Temporarily, Jack whispered to his lawyer. She's been gone for 2 years. Judge Martinez, a stern woman in her 60s, raised her hand for silence. Mr. Morrison, you'll have your chance to speak. Rebecca's attorney continued his assault. Furthermore, Your Honor, Mr. Morrison's current living situation is unsuitable for a child. He's a minimum wage worker living in a 1-bedroom apartment in a questionable neighborhood, while my client can provide Emma with a stable 2-parent home in an excellent school district. Jack felt his world crumbling around him. Everything they said was technically true, even if it painted him as an unfit father. Dr. Patterson has already indicated his willingness to adopt Emma and provide her with the stability she deserves, the attorney concluded. Adopt. The word hit Jack like a physical blow. They wanted to erase him entirely. When it was Jack's turn, he stood on shaking legs. Your Honor, I may not have a mansion or a medical degree, but I've been Emma's primary caregiver for 2 years. I've never missed a parent-teacher conference, a doctor's appointment, or a school play. I love my daughter more than life itself. And what about Ms. Chen? Judge Martinez asked. How long have you known about her diagnosis? Jack's throat felt dry. About 3 weeks. And you still chose to pursue a relationship that will inevitably result in trauma for your daughter. I chose to pursue love, Your Honor. Emma has been happier in the past 3 weeks than she's been since her mother left. Sophia isn't taking anything away from Emma. She's giving her love, stability, and hope. The judge turned to Rebecca. Ms. Morrison, you voluntarily relinquished primary custody 2 years ago. What's changed? Rebecca stood, and Jack was surprised to see tears in her eyes. Your Honor, I made mistakes. I was young and scared, and I thought Emma would be better off without me. But I've grown up now. I have a stable marriage and a stable home, and I want my daughter back before she gets attached to someone who's going to leave her. I never left her, Jack said quietly. I was here every single day. But you can't give her what she needs, Rebecca shot back. You're barely keeping your head above water, Jack. Emma deserves better than worry about whether there's enough money for groceries. The hearing continued for 3 hours. Character witnesses testified for both sides. Emma's teacher spoke about how much happier Emma had seemed lately. Rebecca's new husband outlined the educational and financial opportunities they could provide. Finally, Judge Martinez called for a recess. I'll have my decision by Friday. As they left the courthouse, Sophia took Jack's hand. Whatever happens, we face it together. But Jack could see the doubt in her eyes, the same doubt that was eating away at his own heart. Maybe Rebecca was right. Maybe loving Sophia meant being selfish with Emma's heart. That evening, Emma sensed the tension in their small apartment. She'd been unusually quiet since coming home from school, and now she sat at the kitchen table, methodically coloring in a coloring book, while Jack and Sophia pretended to read. Daddy, Emma said suddenly, not looking up from her crayons. Mrs. Patterson picked me up from school today, instead of you. Jack's stomach dropped. What? She said you were busy and that she was taking me to see my mom. Emma's voice was small. But when we got to the restaurant, Mom started crying and asking if I wanted to come live with her and Dr. Mike. Sophia set down her book, her face pale. What did you tell her, sweetheart? Emma finally looked up, her 8-year-old face serious beyond her years. I told her I already have a family. I told her about you, Sophia, Mom, and how you read me stories and helped me with my math homework, and how you smell like flowers like the lady in my dreams. What did she say? Jack asked gently. She said you were being selfish, Daddy. She said you were making me love someone who was going to leave me. Emma's eyes filled with tears. But that's not true, is it? Love isn't selfish. Love is when you take care of someone even when it's hard. The wisdom of children. Jack felt his heart break and mend simultaneously. Emma, Sophia said carefully, your mom isn't wrong that I'm sick, and yes, someday I will die. Is it worth it to love me anyway? Emma considered this with the gravity of a philosopher. Daddy, do you remember when we found Mr. Whiskers when he was just a baby kitten? Jack nodded, unsure where this was going. You said we shouldn't get attached because cats don't live as long as people, and it would hurt when he died. But I said I'd rather love him for his whole life than never love him at all. Emma looked between them. Sophia, Mom might not live as long as other moms, but she's my mom right now, and right now is what matters. Sophia began to cry, not the polite tears of an adult trying to maintain composure, but the raw, ugly sobs of someone whose heart was breaking with love. Besides, Emma continued matter-of-factly, everyone dies eventually, even regular moms. At least this way, I know to pay attention to every minute. That night, after Emma was asleep, Jack found Sophia sitting on their fire escape, staring at the city lights. She'd been quiet since Emma's profound declaration. What are you thinking about? He asked, settling beside her. I'm thinking about how an 8-year-old child has more wisdom about love and loss than most adults ever will. Sophia leaned against his shoulder. I'm also thinking about tomorrow. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow I start fighting for our family like my life depends on it. Because it does. Sophia had been busy while Jack was at work. She'd hired the best family attorney in the state, had medical experts lined up to testify about her prognosis and treatment, and had documentation of every positive change in Emma's life since Sophia had become part of it. You don't have to do this, Jack said. The legal fees alone. Jack, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use it for something that matters. But Rebecca wasn't going down without a fight. The next morning, Jack received another legal notice. Rebecca was claiming that Sophia's wealth was being used to buy Emma's affection, and that Jack was taking advantage of a dying woman's emotions for financial gain. How can she say that? Sophia raged when Jack showed her the papers. How can she turn love into something ugly? Because she's desperate, Jack said quietly. She knows she abandoned Emma, and she's trying to rewrite history to make herself the victim. The day before the judge's decision, Emma made an announcement that shocked them both. "I want to talk to the judge," she said over breakfast. "Emma, that's not how it works," Jack explained. "Children don't usually testify in custody hearings. But I should get to say where I want to live, shouldn't I? It's my life." Sophia and Jack exchanged glances. Emma was right. She should have a voice in her own future. "What would you tell the judge?" Sophia asked. Emma thought carefully. "I'd tell her that families aren't about how much money you have or how long you get to be together. Families are about love and taking care of each other and being brave enough to choose each other every day. And I choose you, both of you, for however long we get." Judge Martinez's courtroom was packed on Friday morning. Word had spread about the custody case that had divided the small community, and the gallery was filled with supporters from both sides. Emma sat between Jack and Sophia, wearing her best dress and holding Sophia's hand tightly. Against all legal precedent, Judge Martinez had agreed to hear Emma's testimony in her chambers. "Before I announce my decision," Judge Martinez said, "I want to address something that has become clear during these proceedings. This case isn't really about what's best for Emma Morrison. It's about fear." She looked directly at Rebecca. "Ms. Morrison, your fear of having made the wrong choice 2 years ago doesn't give you the right to disrupt your daughter's life now. You chose to leave when things got difficult. Mr. Morrison chose to stay." Then she turned to Jack and Sophia. "And your fear that loving someone you'll lose is somehow wrong ignores a fundamental truth about the human experience. We all lose everyone we love eventually. The question is whether we choose to love anyway." Judge Martinez opened her file. "After speaking with Emma in my chambers, I'm convinced that this 8-year-old child understands something that the adults in this room have forgotten. Love isn't measured by duration. It's measured by depth." Jack's heart hammered against his ribs. "However," the judge continued, "I do have concerns about the rushed nature of this relationship and the impact of Ms. Chen's diagnosis on Emma's psychological well-being." Sophia squeezed Emma's hand tighter. "Therefore, I'm ordering a 6-month trial period. Emma will remain in her father's primary custody, with Ms. Morrison receiving supervised visitation every other weekend. During this time, the family will participate in counseling to ensure that Emma is processing her emotions healthily." Relief flooded through Jack, but Judge Martinez wasn't finished. "If, at the end of 6 months, Emma shows signs of psychological distress related to Ms. Chen's illness, I will revisit the custody arrangement. Mr. Morrison, Ms. Chen, you have 6 months to prove that your love for this child is stronger than your need for each other." As they left the courthouse, Rebecca caught up with them in the parking lot. "Jack, wait," she called. They turned, Emma pressing closer to Sophia's side. "I want you to know," Rebecca said, her voice thick with emotion. "I didn't do this to hurt Emma. I did it because I was scared she'd forget me completely." "Rebecca," Jack said gently, "Emma could never forget you. You're her mother. But you can't build a relationship with her by tearing down the one she has with us." Rebecca looked at Emma, who was watching her with curious but wary eyes. "Emma, I want you to know that I love you. I always have, even when I wasn't brave enough to show it." "I know, Mom," Emma said quietly. "But love isn't just a feeling. It's what you do." Rebecca's face crumpled. "I know that now, maybe. Maybe we can start over, slowly." Emma looked up at Jack and Sophia, then back at Rebecca. "I'd like that, but this is my family now, too." Rebecca nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand." As they drove home, Emma was unusually quiet. "What are you thinking about, sweetheart?" Sophia asked. "I'm thinking about how many people love me," Emma said. Even when it's complicated and messy and scary, I have so many people who love me. That makes me lucky, doesn't it? The luckiest, Jack agreed, catching Sophia's eye in the rearview mirror. They had 6 months to prove their love was worth the inevitable heartbreak. 6 months to build a foundation strong enough to support Emma through whatever came next. 6 months to love each other as deeply and completely as possible. It would have to be enough. 5 months into their trial period, the Morrison-Chen household had settled into a rhythm that felt like forever. Sophia had moved into a larger apartment across town, where Emma had her own room painted purple, her favorite color, with a reading nook by the window where Mr. Whiskers could visit. Jack had taken a new job as assistant manager at an upscale restaurant downtown, partly because of Sophia's connections, but mostly because his boss at Maple Street Cafe had seen how much happier and more confident he'd become. Emma was thriving in ways that amazed everyone. Her reading had improved dramatically with Sophia's patient tutoring, and she'd made new friends at the private school Sophia had enrolled her in. More importantly, she'd learned to talk openly about her feelings in their weekly family counseling sessions. "I'm not scared of Sophia Mom dying anymore," Emma had told Dr. Williams the week before. "I mean, I'm sad about it, but I'm not scared, because now I know that love doesn't end when someone dies, it just changes shape." The counselor had looked impressed. "That's very wise, Emma. How did you figure that out?" "Sophia Mom showed me pictures of her mom and dad, who died when she was young. She still talks to them sometimes, and she still loves them. She said they live in her heart now, instead of in her house." But as winter turned to spring, Sophia's condition began to worsen. The latest round of treatments had stopped working, and her energy was noticeably depleted. She still came to every school event, still helped with homework every night, but Jack could see the effort it took. Emma noticed too, in the way children always do. "Daddy," she said one evening while Sophia was napping on the couch, "is it time?" Jack looked up from the dishes he was washing. "Time for what, sweetheart?" "Time for us to take extra good care of Sophia Mom, like she's been taking care of us." The wisdom of his daughter continued to astound him. "Yes, Emma, I think it is." They began planning what Emma called the best wedding ever. It would be small, just the three of them, Rebecca and Dr. Patterson, a few close friends, and Sophia's business partner, who'd become like a sister to her. "I want to walk both of you down the aisle," Emma announced, "because you're both my parents now." 2 weeks before the wedding, Sophia collapsed at the office. Jack met her at the hospital, Emma in tow, because there was no time to arrange childcare. Dr. Rodriguez's face was grave as he reviewed Sophia's test results. "I'm afraid the cancer has spread more rapidly than we anticipated. We're looking at weeks, maybe a month or two." Emma climbed into Sophia's hospital bed without being asked, curling up against her side like she had that first night they'd read stories together. "Does this mean we can't get married?" Emma asked. Sophia and Jack exchanged glances. They'd been planning a spring ceremony in Sophia's garden, but that was 3 weeks away. "Actually," Dr. Rodriguez said gently, "the hospital chaplain performs ceremonies here sometimes. If you'd like, we could arrange something this weekend." "Yes," Sophia said immediately. "I want to marry your daddy and officially become your mom before." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Before you have to go live in our hearts instead of our house," Emma finished matter-of-factly. That Saturday, Sophia married Jack in a hospital room decorated with flowers Emma had picked from the garden at their apartment building. Emma stood between them, holding their hands, as they exchanged vows that brought tears to every eye in the room. "I promise to love you both for all the days of my life," Sophia said, her voice strong despite her weakness, "and I promise to find a way to keep loving you even after." "I promise to help Emma remember how much you love her," Jack replied, "and I promise to love you with everything I have for as long as we have." "Do you—" When it was Emma's turn to speak, she surprised everyone by having written her own vows. "I promise to take care of both of you and to remember all our happy times. I promise to be brave when you have to go, Sophia Mom, and to help Daddy not be too sad." And I promise to tell my kids about you someday, so they'll know they had the best grandma in the world, even if they never got to meet her." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Sophia lived for 6 more weeks as Mrs. Morrison, and they were the most beautiful and heartbreaking weeks of all their lives. She spent her days on the couch in their apartment, wrapped in blankets, telling Emma stories about her childhood, about how she'd fallen in love with Jack when they were teenagers, about all the places she dreamed of traveling someday. "Will you take Daddy to Paris for me when you're grown up?" she asked Emma one afternoon. "He always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower." "I'll take him lots of places," Emma promised, "and I'll tell him what you would have said about everything we see." Emma had stopped going to school, and somehow everyone understood. These were days for family, for memory-making, for love so intense it could last a lifetime. Rebecca visited often, bringing soup and flowers and sitting quietly while Emma read to Sophia. The bitter custody battle seemed like a lifetime ago. Now they were just 2 women who loved the same little girl, united in their desire to make her feel secure and loved. "Thank you," Rebecca said to Sophia one evening as Emma slept curled between them on the couch. "Thank you for teaching her that love comes in many forms. I think I needed to learn that too." On a Tuesday morning in late spring, Sophia woke up but couldn't get out of bed. Dr. Rodriguez came to the apartment, a kindness arranged through Sophia's connections, and confirmed what they all knew. "Today, I think," he said gently. "Jack called in sick to work. Emma declared it a pajama day." They climbed into bed with Sophia and spent the morning looking through photo albums from their short but extraordinary time as a family. "Look," Emma said, pointing to a picture from their hospital wedding. "We look so happy." "We were happy," Sophia whispered. "We are happy." As the day wore on, Sophia grew weaker but more peaceful. She held Jack's hand and stroked Emma's hair as afternoon sunlight streamed through their bedroom window. "I need you both to promise me something," she said, her voice barely audible. "Anything," Jack replied. "Promise me you'll keep being a family. Promise me you'll take care of each other and remember that love doesn't end. It just transforms." "We promise," Emma said solemnly. "And Jack," Sophia turned to look at him, with eyes that held a lifetime of love, "promise me you'll find love again someday. Real love. Emma deserves to see what a happy marriage looks like." "Sophia, promise me you won't spend the rest of your life mourning what we lost, instead of celebrating what we had." Through his tears, Jack nodded. "I promise." As evening approached, Emma climbed carefully into bed beside Sophia. "Will you tell me one more story, Sophia, Mom?" "Once upon a time," Sophia began, her voice growing fainter, "there was a little girl who brought 2 lost people back together. She had magic in her heart and wisdom in her soul, and everywhere she went, she made the world a little bit brighter." "Is this a story about me?" Emma asked. "It's a story about us," Sophia whispered, "about how we found each other and became a family, about how love is always worth it, even when it hurts, about how the best stories don't really end, they just transform into new beginnings." Sophia died peacefully that evening, surrounded by love and holding the hands of her husband and daughter. Her last words were barely audible. "Tell her every day how proud I am of her." 6 months later, at the final custody hearing, Judge Martinez asked Emma where she wanted to live. "With my daddy," Emma said clearly. "He's teaching me how to be brave like Sophia Mom was, and besides, we're still a family. She's just in our hearts now instead of our house." As they left the courthouse for the final time, Emma slipped her hand into Jack's. "Daddy, do you think Sophia Mom would be proud of how brave we're being?" Jack looked down at his daughter, this remarkable child who'd taught them all what love really meant. "I think she's very proud, sweetheart. I think she's watching us be brave and strong and full of love, and I think she's smiling." "Good," Emma said, "because I want to make her smile forever." Dean, and in the warm spring sunshine, as they walked toward their car and their life together, Jack could almost feel Sophia's presence. Not gone, but transformed, not lost, but living on in every act of love they shared. Some love stories end, Others simply change shape, becoming something deeper and more eternal than time itself could ever touch. This was one of those stories.